Today's story is Roller Coaster Ride by Chris Bell. Illustrations by Julia Crouth. Rosie looked up at the roller coaster. She held her ticket tightly in her hand. "Isn't this exciting?" yelled her dad. He had to yell over all the other noise in the fun park. Rosie nodded, but inside she felt scared. She jumped when she heard some children screaming with excitement. Another set of cars flew down the track. Rosie had never been on anything that went as fast as this roller coaster. "Do I still want a ride?" she asked herself. "What if I fall off?" The noise grew louder and louder. She could smell popcorn and hot dogs. "What if I feel sick?" she whispered to herself. The next set of cars came to a stop and the people climbed off. Everyone in the line moved up. Rosie and Dad would be next. Rosie tugged at Dad's sleeve. He bent down and she whispered, "It's very high, isn't it?" Dad laughed and nodded. "We'll be able to see all the park from up there," he said. "It will be just like flying." Rosie didn't want to fly. She didn't feel very well. Then Dad said, "Come on, it's our turn. Here's our car." Rosie tried to tell Dad that she had changed her mind. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Her legs were shaking as she climbed into the car. The car moved off slowly. "It's going to be all right," thought Rosie. "I don't mind this sort of ride." But then she looked at the tracks ahead of her. They seemed to go right up to the sky. The car climbed higher and higher. When it reached the top, Rosie looked down. She could see bright colors far below her. Everything on the ground looked small, very small. The car was hardly moving. Then it crept over the top of the hill. Rosie looked down. She gripped the safety bar and closed her eyes. The car flew down the tracks. She felt the wind rush through her hair. Her stomach turned over and she screamed. But Dad was screaming even louder. When the car began to climb the next hill, Rosie opened her eyes. She didn't feel scared anymore. "Isn't this exciting?" she yelled to Dad. But Dad didn't even open his eyes. He was terrified. Rosie didn't notice. She was having too much fun. Every time the car flew down another hill, Rosie screamed with laughter. She kept her eyes open and felt the wind push her face into funny shapes. In no time at all, the ride was over and the car came to a stop. Rosie jumped out, but Dad needed some help. His eyes were still shut and he looked sick. He shook his head and said, "Never again." Rosie grabbed his hand. "Can we go on another ride? Please, Dad," she asked. "And this time I want to go on that one over there." And that's the end. Bye-bye till next time.